Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to our ninth KlunCast. We're here today with Coach Klun.
Hey guys, nice to see you again.
We also have a very special guest today. We're here with Griffin.
How's it going, guys? Appreciate you having me.
So Coach Klun, if you want to tell people a little bit about how you met uh, Connor and yeah.
Yeah, let's get started on today's KlunCast. And Connor's a very special guest, like Rafa was saying. We met a few years ago back at Vanguard University when Connor was playing. I was coaching there, and it was a great pleasure knowing him there. And we've always talked about how he wanted to, after we were done playing, get into coaching a little bit. NBA, GM, that kind of stuff. And it's really nice to see how you're on your way, doing a lot of really nice things and accomplishing your goals. And let's talk to everybody. Let's tell everybody a little bit about your story. And I think probably you should start from the beginning. Let's talk about high school, how your high school career went playing basketball, playing football, getting recruited. You played at some very high level in college for both basketball and football. So uh, tell everybody a little bit about how that recruiting process went from high school to college.
For sure. Yeah, I played both football in high school, football and basketball in high school. Honestly, basketball is always my passion with it all. I spent probably whatever 7 months of the year playing basketball, and then when football came around, I kind of just started on day one. And I think the basketball training helped a lot with the football, but was kind of just naturally gifted, naturally talented with football. And so it was one of those deals that I kind of came in and just was always good at it. But again, basketball always had my passion. Even, after football practices, I go play some basketball still. So I knew all along I wanted to play basketball in college. Football was always just something I was good at. I enjoyed the friends I had in that group, so I wanted to stay a part of that. But it helped that I was also good with football. So come about my junior year in high school, we finished up our football season. We won the high school's first state championship ever, which was a huge accomplishment for that group of guys, and made football a little bit more special to me at that moment, but still knew my heart was invested in basketball. And at this point, I was getting recruited by some Pac-12, some WCC schools, Big Sky. So had some West Coast recruitment with basketball, and kind of knew that if I just stuck with it, it would probably pop at some point, and something would happen. And right after we won the state championship, about 4 days, 5 days into basketball season, I played one game. We ended up winning that game, and then we go down to a tournament in Red Bluff, California. It's the hometown of our head coach, and he always likes to go down there for a holiday classic. So we're down there, and I did a dunk contest when I was down there, and a dunk that I've done many times before just kind of went wrong. And upon my landing, my knee just, whatever reason, gave out and ended up popping my ACL. So that really took me out of the junior season for high school and really hurt my recruiting because I spent all of that season rehabbing, trying to get better. I was able to make it back in time for that summer July circuit, a little bit of June basketball as well, but I was probably only about 70% of the player I really was. So that was discouraging for me. All of the communication I had with other schools kind of fell off the map. And so here I was going into, end of the summer, didn't have much recruitment with basketball, had a really good junior campaign for football. But again, like I said, my passion was with basketball. That's what I wanted to do. But going to the football season, we ended up making a state championship and lost that year. So didn't repeat, but I had a really good season, made first team all state, and was still getting a little bit of recruitment for football, probably more than I was for basketball. But again, I kind of turned down all those offers, knew I wanted to do basketball, went through that basketball season, got back to myself, still, had some red flags just with my knee, and coaches weren't as willing to recruit me. So when it was all said and done, I didn't have any offers for basketball. I had a few offers for football. And I remember, my parents were really supportive of me playing basketball. They knew that was my passion. They knew that's what I wanted to do. So one day I was presented the opportunity to walk on at Gonzaga. And I knew they had a rich tradition of walk-ons such as David Stockton and Mike Hart from Portland. Go ahead and make a name for themselves in walk-ons, earning a scholarship, and then getting legit minutes at that level. So when it was all said and done, I knew that that was going to be the spot for me, and was able to secure a spot on the team and enjoyed my 2 years there. It was amazing, and kind of always had the plan that football was going to be something I might try after I do my 4 years of basketball. Use that 5th year of eligibility to just give it a go and see what happens. And then that time came a little bit quicker after 2 years at Gonzaga. Loved my teammates, loved all experiences I had, made it to the Elite Eight, lost to Duke, who ended up winning the national championship that year in 2015. But kind of told myself if I wanted to accomplish what, I thought I was capable of doing in football, that I needed more than probably one season to do that. And so went ahead and started exploring some options, talking to Portland State, who recruited me out of high school. Montana talked to me a little bit out of high school. So went back, started talking to them. And then one of my buddies had a close contact with the University of Washington. And it helped that he was a Washington fan too. So that made it a little bit easier for him to push for that option. But after kind of weighing all the options, I figured if I wanted to, really accomplish what I kind of had hope for me to do in the football world, I needed to go compete at the highest level. So ultimately, turned down scholarships from both Montana and Portland to go be a walk-on at University of Washington. And again, developed another great set of friends there. Had a great time. It was fun to go to a big school like that, whereas Gonzaga is a very small school. So I got to, experience both those. And then made it to college football playoffs. So between, Elite Eight and basketball and college football playoffs, in college football. I think that's, pretty fun career right there. But yeah, I had 1 year of eligibility left after that. And that's where I met Coach Klun over at Vanguard University. Decided to kind of get that basketball bug out of my system. And it's hard to turn down the opportunity to play in Newport Beach and, have a good group of guys like they did there. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, how everything happened throughout the course of my college career.
That's awesome, man. That's such a great story with there's I don't know if everybody realizes how high of a level Gonzaga is for basketball and Washington is for football, and how big time of an athlete you have to be, just looking at a screen, seeing you there talking. I don't know if people realize what a big time athlete you've always been, like you were like 6'6",
Six
right?
five-ish, yeah, 6'5"-ish. Could jump a little bit. That was back in the day, though. I'm slowly losing. I'm
Hey
slowly.
man, nah, that no way. You could jump really high. Like I tell people that probably the most amazing dunk I ever been a part of, like on the court, that I was sitting on the court, was against ACU at Vanguard. You dunked on a guy who was like 7', 7'2" or something like that.
Yeah.
On in transition, and it's just such a big accomplishment to be able to play at those two super high levels in two very different sports, where you need different kind of physical abilities. And that's part of our next question that we were thinking about, training for basketball at Gonzaga, for football at Washington. It's a super high level for both in two very different sports. What are the main things you took from those two different environments?
Yeah, I think the basketball athlete and football athlete are very different. Obviously, there are some similarities there. Like you want to have that explosiveness, the quickness, the just pure athleticism. Basketball, though, I think you pair a lot more of your body control, that core. Obviously, you have to be dribbling a basketball while doing all these kind of acrobatic moves. Your lateral quickness needs to be up to speed because you have your back to the basket, moving backwards, trying to guard these guys, beat them to the spot. So that's kind of where I saw that come into play the most. It wasn't as much about power. We're not going in the weight room at Gonzaga trying to bench 300 pounds for 2 reps and, eat all this food to put on a bunch of weight. Obviously, that was the case for a couple guys. Some guys need to lose weight. Everyone has their specific plan, but it wasn't just this like sheer power that you needed to play basketball. There was obviously a much finer skill set, being able to dribble the ball, shoot on the move, and then like just the cerebral aspect that comes into being a student of the game. It's a little bit different train there. Obviously, I think you have to read coverages in basketball like you do football, so that comes into play, and I think that helped me out a little bit. But yeah, the physical component was much different because when you get to Washington, I remember they wanted me to play tight end my first year, and going into Washington, I was probably about 220 pounds, maybe a little bit less than that, and they said they wanted me to get all the way up to 260 pounds. Like that would have been their dream. So they wanted me to put on damn near 40 pounds if possible. And so I remember when I first got there, a big part of it was the nutrition for me. I was still a great athlete. I had great conditioning because basketball, you're running for long periods of time. Whereas football, it's a play that's maybe 8 seconds long and then you get a little break. So the conditioning is different there. I'd kick everyone's butt in like the long distance stuff. There's probably some guys that are, a bit faster, a little bit more explosive than me, but the endurance I had on everyone. But you get to the nutrition aspect, and again, them wanting me to be 260 meant that I had to eat. I'd have an 8 egg omelet for breakfast. I'd have a waffle, a giant bowl of fruit, and then I get an 8 egg omelet to go. So there's a point, like my first summer there, I was eating 16 eggs a day. And I loved it at first. I thought it was awesome. I was like, I get to eat as much food as I want, try and become this fat boy. And then about a week into it, it felt like an actual chore. Like I'm just staring at my plate, just in defeat, knowing that I can't finish the rest of this omelet. So it was fun to, try out all that, be a little bit of a meathead. You get in the weight room, you're, surrounded by a bunch of other guys that are shaking the bars. Everyone's going crazy, just like trying to hype you up because you're over here trying to hit, 315 pounds, 350 pounds for 1 rep on the bench, and you got guys over there. I'm doing 315, I think was the most I ever got, but you got guys over there doing damn near 500 pounds. And so it's a lot different. You're training for a lot more power, a lot more explosive. It's going to be lower reps, more weight. So that's kind of where I saw it, the biggest differences there. Obviously, you have good athletes in both, but I think with basketball, you see a lot more body control, guys being able to control their movements. They're a little bit more fluid of athletes, whereas football, they're a lot more explosive. It's shorter bursts, but within that, it's a very um, physical kind of movement. You're really just using your torque to try and take guys down and training that as well. So that's the biggest difference I saw.
Did you end up hitting 260? What was the weight like?
No, I think the most I ever got to is like 235. I might have got to 240 if that, but even then it didn't feel right. My shoulders were so inflated back then. It felt like I had like the SpongeBob arms that blow into and hop on
Yeah,
the hill. I remember
yeah.
guys, but there's some guys that had to make their weight too, and they would try and sneak like 5 pound like plates into their pants before they step on the hill, just so they don't have to do like, drink this extra shake or something like that. I'm telling you, the nutrition becomes like a chore of it, but like the guys that are committed to it, you could really see it pay off with their regimen. So it was fun again to experience that, try and be a meathead, but it definitely wasn't for me. My passion was always with basketball, and uh, I got small signs like that all throughout my football career that made me realize why it was basketball, not football.
Yeah. And now coming to our next question here. So how was that transition for you to being a college athlete onto being a college coach, assistant coach when you went to Pepperdine? Was it a fast transition? Did you like go right into Pepperdine, or how was that for you?
So I really didn't know I wanted to do coaching ever at all. Um, I had some really good coaches along the way, like Clune, like my wide receivers coach at Washington. I had close relationships with my people at Gonzaga. So I was always surrounded by cool coaches, good coaches. But I never knew I wanted to be a coach. And it wasn't really until um, probably that 5th year when I went to Vanguard that, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do after college. And I'm graduating with a degree in philosophy, which it was fun to learn about some of that stuff, but I'm sitting there, what the heck am I going to do with this degree, not knowing what's next. And so I kind of use that 5th year as like a gap year. Obviously, I wanted to play basketball. I got to meet some new people, have some cool experiences there. But use that year to kind of just like really reflect on what I wanted, enjoy kind of what I was doing. I remember pretty specifically, it was one day at practice, Coach Soliday, our head coach at Vanguard, he was kind of talking to us at the end of practice. We didn't really have a good day. And, he was telling us he's going to go back home. He's going to sleep completely fine. He lives in Newport Beach. He's got this beautiful family, wife, kids, everything like that. He gets to come to work and see us every day. And like, upon him saying all that, I was kind of daydreaming a little bit. I was like, this guy really does have a good job. Like, he's doing all the things he loves with the people he loves and gets to go home to his, amazing situation. And that's kind of like when I realized like how cool of a opportunity and how cool of a job coaching could be. And, to be honest, it's the only thing I've really done my entire life is sports. And so I figure might as well just kind of stick with it and ride with that. So I ended up reaching out to Coach Romar, who was once the head coach at the University of Washington. And actually, when I was done playing football my last season there, I asked Coach Romar if I could be a practice player on the basketball team, knowing that I was going to use my 5th year. So I just wanted to polish up my skills, make sure I was ready to go when I did transfer to a place like Vanguard. And so after my senior year in college, he got fired from Washington, actually got a job with Arizona the next year. So when I was at Vanguard, I reached out to him, Coach Farmer, and asked him if he had any graduate assistant opportunities down at Arizona. And he didn't get back to me at the time, which I thought was fine. I knew he has a lot on his plate. He's really busy. But it was usually about a day after they lost in the March Madness tournament to Buffalo that year. I think it was they were a 5 seed, Buffalo was a 12 seed, and got upset in the first round when Nate Oates was coaching there. But anyways, he gave me a text the next day. He's like, I don't know if you saw, but I got the head coaching job at Pepperdine. Would you be interested in, coming out to help over here? And so went up there, visited him for a day, talked about the opportunity, and decided that's what I wanted to do. And so it was really my first experience behind closed doors. Like, what's it like to be a coach? Because you just usually see your coaches when practice comes along, right? Or you're just seeing them in passing in the hallways. And so you never really know what's going on. And I didn't realize how much there is that goes into it, between the game planning, putting together a practice plan, doing all the video edits. And then even at the college level, you have to book travel. You have to do some laundry if you're at a smaller school and don't have as much staff members. So there's a lot that goes into it that people didn't realize. And so that was really cool for me. That was the most eye-opening thing at first, was just to experience all these different hats you have to wear while being a coach, especially in the position I was in. But it was my first opportunity to really like hone in on player development, start training players. Colby Ross and Kessler Edwards are 2 guys right away that, got in the gym and I was able to get close with, and they trusted me with their game, and I was able to help them grow. They helped me grow as a coach. And so that was really fun for me. But it was an incredible experience because you really just get to, try everything out for the first time, especially again in that graduate assistant opportunity. You have to do the video, you have to do the laundry, you have to go pick up food orders, you have to go do class checks. So you're doing a little bit of everything. But with that, that's a lot of responsibility, and you take pride in getting all that responsibility. So for me, it was just a great opportunity to just experience it, really hone in on being a coach. And it was the first time that I really got to just kind of explore that route. And obviously that took me to the Nuggets. So got very, very lucky there, as you guys are right now.
Yeah, that was the next thing we're gonna get into. After Pepperdine, you got an opportunity with the Denver Nuggets. You were there for 2 years, right? And you were there for their championship. You got to work with some of the best players in the world. Well, Jokic, one of the best players ever already, at least in my mind. And what was that jump like? Because it was quick from being a player going into Pepperdine as a graduate assistant, then going right into the Denver Nuggets. How was that next jump? How was the experience working at the highest possible level, winning a championship? Tell everybody a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. I mean, Pepperdine was a great opportunity. I was there for 3 years, but got to a point where I didn't feel like I was growing anymore. I thought Coach Romar taught me everything that, he really could teach me and the rest of that staff. And so I was looking for another opportunity to just learn from a different coach. And it was funny, I was actually supposed to go work for the Lakers, which at the time, that's when they traded for Russ and they had Carmelo on the team. So it would have been a team of Carmelo, Russ, LeBron, and AD. And I was set to go work there. So I was still going to be in LA as kind of like a basketball junkie. I didn't think it was going to really work outside looking in. I didn't, fully believe in that unit together. But as a kid, these are guys you grow up watching, so that would have been a cool experience. But before I got a call last minute from the Nuggets, and they said they had a assistant video spot open, and I was recommended for the spot. They asked me if I would want to do it, and immediately said yes. And so instead of driving south to LA, drove, east out to Denver from Portland. And again, another amazing experience. I got to learn from another great group of coaches, have a bunch of mentors there now, great set of players. And I mean, I'll talk about Joker first. He's like the most selfless person that you'll ever meet. Doesn't care about, uh, all the glitz and glamour of the league. Strictly is just a basketball guy and has a big focus on relationships. He's one of my best buddies now, and um, you know, it's refreshing when you're around a star player like that. Because even in college, you get some star players that think that everything should be catered towards them, but here Joker is shooting on a side basket because Jamal's on a main hoop and you got MPJ on another main hoop, and we only have one court there in Denver, and Joker's humble enough to just go on a side court and still get his routine. And so it was little things like that about him that always stood out. But yeah, very, very talented group of guys. It was fun to just learn the NBA terminology. It's a completely different game than college as far as the spacing. There's defensive 3 seconds, that paint's a little bit bigger. So it opens up that middle and, allows for a lot more athletic plays. And again, the caliber of athlete you're dealing with, it's no longer guys at Pepperdine that, you get some good guys there, but in the NBA, everyone's a great athlete. And so that was just fun to experience that. And it was cool that first year. I just really got to embrace kind of everything they threw my way. A bunch of the video stuff, guys. I got to see what happened behind closed doors in the NBA as well. So that was just a different perspective I got to take on versus the college one. And then, that first year we had Jamal out with his knee, MPAJ was out with his back. And so Joker led our team and got another MVP that season and made it to the 6th seed, but ultimately lost to the Warriors, who were the 3 seed, and ended up going on to win it that year. But, you know, being within that organization, just knowing kind of what we had on the bench with Jamal and MPJ, I was like, once we get these guys back, like we're going to do something special. And then obviously we make the trade for KCP. We signed Bruce Brown. We got Jeff Green the year before. And so our roster started to shape up. And, I watched clips of Joker and Jamal before I got there, but I never got to see them in person. Then we get to training camp and it was poetry in motion. This is what you see with like the Spurs and all that. It's like, it truly was a thing of beauty because, like, as a play starts to happen, and once you get that first advantage, I can already tell you everything that was going to happen from there. It was going to be pocket pass to Joker. Joker's either going to throw the lob to AG or find KCP or MPJ in the corner. And it was just, you knew it was coming every time. So you got glimpses of this. And early in the season, I was convinced that we were going to get it done. And sure enough, we did. So yeah, that was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. And to do it with a group of coaches like that, bunch of guys that are selfless and that we're just willing to lay it on the line for each other. That made it the best part. But obviously got this opportunity in Brooklyn. Knew I had to take advantage of that. So very happy for my time there in Denver, though.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's like I believe that's like a dream for a lot of people to just to be able to witness everything. And yeah. So now coming to the next question, like recently you just took another opportunity to represent Canada in the Olympics. And how was it like experiencing FIBA basketball? I don't know if it was your first time within FIBA. And yeah, and just one of the biggest sporting event in the world. How was that for you?
It was amazing. Yeah. So I got to work with Team Canada last summer at the World Cup. And I had a great time with that. It was super cool opportunity. It's more tailored towards the college game, so that was kind of fun because I've been doing the NBA for the past 3 years or 2 years when I first did World Cup. So it was nice to, get back into what felt like a little bit of a college setting as far as, the paint is a little, or the half court's a little bit smaller. That 3-point line is moved in. There's no defensive 3 seconds, shorter quarters. And so that part was very fun for me to, re-experience that. But um, within that, it was a completely different game than NBA. So it was fun to just kind of change your perspective with all that and uh, see how the game changed. Guys were a little bit more gimmicky. Game playing was very important. Here I am doing reports on guys I've never heard of over in, Serbia and Slovenia. Obviously, people know Luka and Giannis and Joker and, the high level NBA players that are international, but they forget about, the other dudes that kind of have a great career overseas that I'm sure a bunch of people that are familiar with people are like, no, these are FIBA legends. You got Sergio Llull from Spain, and you guys got little Thiago, right? Thiago with Brazil. Um, just a bunch of these like guys that are really good basketball players, but their game doesn't really fit the NBA game. But you put them in FIBA, and you get these guys that are just amazing. Patty Mills absolutely turns it up when he plays for Australia. And so it's fun to experience that, see these guys come out. And I think the other part that was really cool for me was just traveling and seeing the world. We got to go to Germany, we got to go to Spain, Indonesia, all these different places that were just, for me, it was a culture shock, but in a good way. It's things I've never seen before. It's the architecture that's amazing, the way of life there. The people are so much different than they are here in the States. So for me, that was the coolest experience. And then obviously that takes us into Olympics. We were able to grab a bronze medal last year, beat the USA. So that was a little different. And I think the best part about that was Coach Few was on the other staff, was on USA staff. And so when we ended up beating him, that's the first time I've gone through handshake line, was the one that actually got the win versus him, because that Pepperdine the entire time he was being us. And obviously I was on his team at Gonzaga. So this is the first time I actually got to be on the opposite end of it. So that was a cool feeling getting that bronze. But then, qualifying for Olympics was huge for Canada. It was such an honor to represent them because I'm a guest of their country, and for them to, trust me with this process was awesome. So the fact that Coach Fernandez gave me the opportunity to do it was a blessing. And again, it was just a little bit of a repeat last year. Obviously, the stakes are a lot higher. You're on the highest stage of any sporting event probably out there. But it was an amazing experience. We had a really good squad, and the guys really bought into what we were doing, went 3-0 in group play, and obviously had to play France, who's the host team in Paris. And you get to that, they're doing everyone's anthem. You have the whole entire arena singing the French anthem, and you're just looking around. It's like the craziest environment I've ever been in. Had some guys on their teams that had good games, so didn't get the result we wanted, but overall it was a great experience just to, experience this kind of game. I mean, you guys know it, Klun, you've been with college hoops and how much of a difference it is. People may not see it, but once you're a part of it, you can really tell, like, it's no joke. It's a lot more physical. The pace is a lot different. The passing, the cutting, everyone's all over the court. So those little things like that just made a big difference within all of it. And, things that I'm going to take away as a coach and hopefully implement here at some point for myself.
No, yeah, and with Canada, it's nice to see how they've been building over the past few years. One of the advantages that the European teams have is most of their main players play together from an early age. Like Serbia has guys that have been playing together since they were teenagers. A lot of European countries like Spain, when they were at their peak with the Gasol brothers, Rudy Fernandez, Navarro, and all those guys, they played together since they were teenagers. And it looks like Canada is heading into that direction, and a lot of their main players are still in their mid to late 20s, early 30s, so they probably got at least one more Olympic cycle with most of the same players building in a really good direction, and just talking to you about all of this, I'm just thinking here, like, you've been at the highest level of college basketball, at the highest level of college football, the highest level in the NBA, now with one of the top teams, top countries in FIBA going into the Olympics, and such a variety of experiences that I think are gonna, like, I know I've known you for a few years now, and I know how much you soak in everything from every experience you have, and I'm just thinking about how that's gonna make you a great head coach if you want to be a head coach one day. Or I remember you always talked about at some point going into GM and just learning all those different aspects of basketball from a lot of very different scenarios, college, Europe, and NBA, so I'm just glad to see how your career is going in such a really good direction, and I'm sure you're learning a lot from all of that. And with all these experiences that you've been a part of, now you have another new challenge for you starting. You're just starting as an assistant coach with the Brooklyn Nets. How's that been going so far? I know it's early, but ever since you got back to the Olympics and now going from Denver to Brooklyn, obviously there's a lifestyle difference too, adjusting to a new city, a new team. How's that going for you?
It's going well. I mean, we have a great group of players, great bunch of staff members here that have made the transition super easy. It's been a whirlwind with, moving out of Denver while being in the Olympics, trying to find a place while I'm in France, while, still trying to help people over here with the Nets, trying to figure it out. And obviously we have our head coach, Jordi Fernandez, coaching the national team. So, he wants summer league games of our guys in Brooklyn while we're over there, so he can watch that in his free time. And so there's a lot going on, but obviously great experience. I'm really happy it happened, but transition has been good. It's like we said earlier, it's a different city. Denver is a lot more slower pace. Got the mountains. What I have in the mountains here are just tall buildings instead. But it's been fun to embrace the East Coast living, the city living. Never really had anything like this before. And again, like I said, the staff, they have been awesome. You can tell that Coach Fernandez handpicked each one of these guys because, they really embrace what we're about over here. Building a culture, being connected with one another, being selfless, and then just a group of guys are competitive. And that starts, again, with Coach Fernandez down to the staff. And then we're trying to embody that within all of our players, really ingrain that in them, and kind of something we've been doing every single day. But right now, we have a bunch of guys in the gym. They're coming in to train, try and get some work in on their own time. And then they've been playing competitive kind of pickup. We'll put some structure on it, but those guys really get to just embrace it and just go out there, hoop, get to be teammates, figure out each other's games a little bit. So by the time we get into training camp, these guys are fully ready to go. So it's been a fun experience.
Awesome. Man, I wish we had hours to be here and talk about talk about your experience with all different kinds of basketball. But, obviously you have your stuff to do and we have our stuff to do here, but it's been a pleasure. And one last thing I wanted to ask you, most of the people that are going to be watching this podcast are young athletes, here in Brazil that are looking to make the most out of their talent, get as far as possible with basketball, try to play college, try to play professionally. And like we've been talking about, you have been at the highest level in high school, college, NBA, Olympics, and all that stuff. You've had teammates of, high level players at Gonzaga when you were playing, at Washington, playing football. You've been coaching some of the best players in the world with Denver, with Canada, against some of the best players in the world as well, and now with Brooklyn too. I wanted to ask you if you could give some advice to the young kids, stuff that they got to work on and off the court, as you scout players in the NBA and the national team and everything. And as you talk to them, as you listen to their story, what would your advice be to the young kids that are starting their career as basketball players?
Yeah, real simply put, I would say, I tell everyone just work hard and be a good person. You'll be surprised how far that will get you. I've kind of always prided myself on just being a person people will want to be around, work with, just a positive energy everywhere I go. So be a good person and work hard. And like you'll be surprised with, maybe sometimes you don't know what you're always doing, but as long as you're working hard and you know, putting forth an effort to try and learn and figure things out and just work in that solutions department, you'll be surprised with what happens. And then as far as specific skills for, basketball players, I think, the game is trending around being able to hit the 3-point shot. So I think that's one of the most important things kids need to work on nowadays, but doing it in the right way. That doesn't mean just stepping out to a 3-point line and start chucking them up, start inside and really build a foundation, kind of connect your body, link everything together. And, figure it out from there. Obviously, your form shooting, but develop that 3-point shot because from there, you create closeouts and you're able to get downhill and the paint opens up. And from there, you're finishing at the rim or kicking to your teammates. So it always starts there. If you stay with Klun, I'm sure he'll get your jumper right. He was helping me back at Vanguard. But I think it starts there. And then from there, just be simple and then just be masterful and, and being simple. So making simple reads at a high level. It's not a complicated game. Everyone thinks, they got to reinvent the wheel, but when it comes down to it, it's pretty simple. Just do what the defense doesn't want you to do, right? And from there you'll be good. But that's kind of all I got for you. I think comes down just again surrounding yourself around the right people. I've been fortunate enough to, as we talked about, do some really cool things, but I wouldn't have been able to do any of it with the coaches I've had along the way, the friends I've made, all the relationships that you make along the way. Those are the things that are most important. So just embracing that and just understanding that, that's what it's really about. It's not about the championships or all these different accomplishments. It's about kind of the journey to that. So embrace that. And I think you're going to be successful in whatever it is.
Hey, I think that's great for them to hear, for kids to hear, especially coming from somebody who just 2 years ago won the highest level possible of championships in basketball at the NBA level, So, hey, great stuff, man. Again, pleasure having you on our podcast. I know the kids that are watching are gonna have a lot to learn from everything that you said and all your experiences. And next thing, we gotta get you over to Brazil to a camp here, like we've been talking. And hopefully we can make it happen next summer or at some point whenever you have some free time to come over.
No, for sure. I'll make my way down there, man. I'm telling you, it's at the top of my list. I need to come visit. So we'll be in touch. We'll make sure something happens here soon.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Coach Klun, and thank you so much, Connor, for being here talking to us today. It was a pleasure having you. Hope all of us here at Team Klun are cheering on you wherever you go. And yeah, thank you guys for watching today. And yeah, we'll see you guys.
All right, guys. See you next time. Thanks again, Griff, for coming over. And for sure, we're all cheering on you, and we know you're on your way to keep doing great things.
No, appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me.